Our live eye today is at Fort White Alive, where Drew Kozub is on a fantastic forest forage. Good morning, Drew.
Good morning, guys. I got the fire going nice and toasty because not only are we going to be foraging for local delicious things to snack upon, we're going to be cooking them up today. And the first thing on the menu, of course, because it's breakfast, it's going to be pancakes.
Ooh, okay. So for those that aren't familiar, what exactly is forest foraging?
Well, here at Fort White Alive, you come here and you look through the woods and you try to spot pancakes that people have left around.
Great.
Actually, it's not quite that easy. But forest foraging, I think people get the wrong idea. They're like, I need to find enough stuff so that I don't have to go grocery shopping anymore. That's impossible. You can't do that. And that's not really what forest foraging is. What it is about is learning a little bit more about the things that are growing in the areas around us, like here at Fort White Alive or maybe Assiniboine Forest, and using those things to sort of supplement your meals or use them to sort of spice up your ordinary cooking with some local ingredients. For example, you could do some baking and make some delicious cupcakes with a nice mint icing, or you can find natural growing mint here in Manitoba and use that, or find a plant that tastes just like licorice that's actually growing like 20 feet away from me now. So knowing how to recognize these certain things can really sort of add a different flavor or taste to your cooking.
And you've actually got a guide, an expert in the field to help you find those things, so you know what you're eating is exactly what you want.
That's the thing. You probably want to do this with a professional. You don't want to be winging it and saying, those mushrooms look like the mushrooms that are on the can. Make sure that if you're going to be doing this, you check out savorwinnipeg.com. That's this great local food blog, and they do these fantastic forest forages. They do them here at Assiniboine, they do them here at Fort White Alive, they do them at Assiniboine Forest, but the very last one is happening this weekend, so they're going to be done for the season. So we're going to be finding out the sorts of things that you can find come fall time, the sorts of things that are still going to be growing, still going to be fresh, and still going to be delicious. So for our pancakes, we're going to be using some naturally sourced acorn flour, and in a little bit we're going to be making some bush tea. Barrett, why is Fort White the place to be coming for the forest forages?
Well, there's so many different types of habitat all in one place here. We have our wetlands, we have forest, we have grassland, all in one place with nice marked trails. And we do have a few people like myself and my colleagues around who can sort of help people in the right direction find the good stuff without having to nibble on the not-so-good stuff.
And I think that's the big thing. You want to be doing this with a professional. You probably don't want to be winging this and just grabbing whatever you're sort of finding. But, like, it's just as soon as we came into this area, you were finding all different sorts of stuff for us. So,
yeah, we've got the green stuff on the pond that you mentioned is duckweed. Now, mostly for those ducks and geese you're talking about, but if you cook it, it is an edible. I found some wild mint here, so if you wanted to give that a sniff or...
Whoa!
Yeah, very,
it
very
smells
minty.
like mint. Wild mint. Smells like mint. Who knew?
The cattails, so that's the hot dog on a stick plant over here. Yeah. They're an edible. They're sort of in a shoulder season right now. In the springtime, the shoots are really nice, and in the fall time, the roots are really nice.
Gotcha.
But right now, they're sort of... We need to wait a couple weeks for the roots, and the shoots are a little tough.
Very cool. Now, you're telling me there's some wild Twizzlers around here.
Yeah, well, not the Twizzlers so much as the black jelly beans.
Oh, I see. So
actually,
it's black licorice flavored.
Yeah, right here we have wild licorice. And get a little bit closer to the trail here. These black burrs, or these brown burrs that are football shaped.
These things.
Those are the characteristic of the wild licorice. That's the wild licorice seed.
So that's what you want to look like. So you combine that with a little bit of wild mint, and you got yourself a delicious little cocktail.
Well, you find those burrs, and then you dig the roots. And then, you could make the mint and licorice into a nice tea.
So let's talk a little bit about foraging in general, because this Sunday you guys are offering to take a group out, and there's still time to get signed up. You can go as an individual, go with your partner, friend, family, whatever you like. But what's the purpose of foraging? Or are we trying to be like, I'm never going grocery shopping again?
Well, it's not quite that. There's just not enough growing out here to support as many people as we have in the city. But if you've ever sort of wondered, I wonder what I could eat out of the forest. I wonder what delicious flavors grow naturally here. I sort of wonder what my neighborhood, what my backyard, what Fort White, what does the landscape taste like? We think about seeing. We've heard ducks and geese this morning. You can smell the forest. But nobody thinks about tasting nature. Everybody needs to eat, and sampling what's around you naturally, I think, is one of the best ways to connect to what we live in all the time.
So maybe we come out on one of these forest forages, learn a little bit about these plants, and then when we go back home, we recognize that some of these things are growing in our own backyards.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a way to spice up your regular diet, literally, with like the mint and the wild sunflower, and just sort of knowing, too, that it's sort of good to remember that we're part of this great big natural system that we're in right now, and what a better way to remember that than by eating some of it.
All right, now we got to actually do some work today because we got to make pancakes. We need to gather up some acorns, and then we've got these things, which we'll be able to talk about a little bit later on today. But these are going to be for our bush tea. So we've got what are these called? Hip roses?
Rose hips.
Rose hips.
Rose hips. Yeah.
I thought they were cool roses, hence hip roses, but rose hips. So
yeah, they're the fruit of the wild rose bush, and they make a delicious tea. They've sort of got a citrusy, tomatoey flavor to them.
And this is going to be one of the main components in our early morning.
I think so.
Okay, well, we're going to be doing some brewing and some more foraging as we plan breakfast here at Fort White Alive. We'll check with you a little bit later on this morning here on City TV.
Drew, you looking at the menu? This is for acorns.
Yes, you know what, these are pretty fascinating things because they are everywhere, like they're on the sidewalks, they seem to find their ways everywhere, but they are highly, highly useful inside of a forest forage. So I'm going to take you through the evolution of the acorn. So when it drops out of the tree, this is what this sucker looks like, but there's a lot of prep work that needs to happen. So you peel off that, so it looks like that. Then you peel off that, so it looks like that. Now before you can eat an acorn, you don't want to be like jamming these things in your mouth like peanuts, because they will make you crazy sick. These things are loaded with tannins, which they actually used to tan leather back in the day, so you need to boil these things 5 times to get those tannins out of the acorn to make them edible. But once you do that, do you know what you can make with these acorns?
What?
This is a jar of acorn flour, which is going to be the basis for our forest foraged pancakes.
Right on, forest pancakes.
You guys should be more impressed. This was like, see how big an acorn is? Like, this was probably like 18 billion acorns that were used to make this flour. 5 times boiling, like this probably took 37 years to make this.
That is an excellent point.
Okay, I have a real question about forest foraging.
The stuff I've been talking about isn't real?
No, well, it is, but you just barely touched on it. How do you know if it's safe or not? Like, how do you know if you can eat stuff?
See, that's one of those things that you do not want to be just winging it. You want to go on one of these fantastic forest forages with the experts, because I'm going to show you these little berries here that we're going to be using in our tea. They grow everywhere, and while we're going to be eating them, they need to be cooked in a very, very certain way because they're basically poison to you if they're improperly cooked. So out here at Fort White Alive, preparing some delicious bush tea. Take a look at this. We've got our rose hips, our wild mint, and our wild sunflower seeds. Apparently, you add some water, and this makes a delicious brew. Coming up on breakfast television, we'll be serving this up with a side of foraged pancakes. We'll tell you about the recipe and how you can learn how to make these coming up later this morning here on City TV.
Don't you stuff it in your face, don't stuff it in your face, though it might look good to eat, though it might
A little bit. But first up, what do you got on the menu for us today, Ben?
Well, we've got the bush tea that we've made up with those wonderful rose hips that Barrett found for us this morning, and wild mint, and sweetened with a little bit of that Fort White honey.
Okay.
That's available. You can purchase that at the gift shop here, and we'll be cooking with that a lot. I'm also going to be preparing some pancakes. We talked about the acorns earlier, and I've actually processed those into a flour, and I've added that to a standard pancake batter mixture. So it's not all acorn flour, but there's a little bit in there to supplement.
And that's sort of about what this forest foraging is all about. It's finding ways to supplement with some local ingredients. For example, we're using the acorn flour inside of our pancake batter, and it's finding those little nuances that you can use to sort of like spice up or dress up your food with some natural flavors, right?
Exactly. Just bringing a little local flavor to things we do every day. And that's the thing with foraging. There's just too many of us and not enough habitat. It won't be a sustainable thing, but it's a supplemental thing.
Yes, we don't want to strip the woods of Fort White alive here as we're doing this. So why don't we get started on these pancakes here?
Absolutely.
And while you're doing that, maybe you can tell me a little bit about the fantastic forest forage, which is going to be happening Sunday here at Fort White Alive.
Yeah, actually, we're really excited to be down here at Fort White. It's just a beautiful area and some pretty unique things that we can find here that we wouldn't normally find in Assiniboine Forest where we typically forage. So we're delighted at that partnership. But there will be a lot of crossovers as well. But we're really excited about these wild sunflower seeds that we're finding here right now. So I'm going to add a few of those to this as well.
So we're topping our foraged pancakes with some wild sunflower seeds. So when we're thinking about foraging, what are some of the other things that we're going to be finding in the woods that are going to be edible and going to be adding some unique flavors to our foods?
Well, certainly like the rose hips, the wild mint that we've got. There's lots of greens, plantain. We've got, I talked about the pineapple weed earlier, which has sort of citrusy flavors.
And
to
that's
it.
the thing that might be growing in your driveway right now. It's that sort of like bushy like weed that has the little yellow circles on top.
Yeah, like a very sort of feathery stalk on it. You know, you can also find like the acorns. Obviously, you've got there's wild hazelnuts, there's wild plums, crab apples often. So it's unbelievable what you can find out there.
And the Fantastic Forest Forage, this is the last one for the season, but these are sort of like a great thing for like friends to come out and do together, or family to do together. It's a nice way to sort of connect with nature, and a really good idea to do this with someone who actually knows what they're talking about. You don't just want to wander through the woods eating anything that you find. It's important to be able to recognize these things. So if you bring your camera phone or bring your camera, take some photos of these things so that you know what to look for. But potentially the purpose of this thing is you take people on these guided tours, and then they can find these things in their own backyards and neighborhoods, right?
Exactly, just to get a bit of familiarity with an expert. It's all foods that we've foraged before, that we've eaten before. We're still here talking about it, so we can guarantee that it's safe. And there's a takeaway that has some of the things we'll cover as well. So, but for sure, bring a camera, bring a notebook, bring a friend.
Perfect. You're having a good time and developing some unique skills. If you want more information on the Fantastic Forest Forage, which is happening this Sunday here at Fort White Live, just go to our website at breakfasttelevision.ca. We've got a link to Ben's blog, which is called Savor Winnipeg, and you get all the details there. We've got some pancakes to cook, so we're going to take a little break here, and we'll check with you later on this morning from Fort White Live. Good morning, Courtney here at Fort White Live. Getting a little preview of what you can enjoy if you sign up for the Fantastic Forest Forage, which is happening on Sunday. And I gotta say, it's a really good feeling because you go out into the woods, you gather some ingredients, and you feel like a real woodsman or woodswoman afterwards when you sit back and look at this, because this looks like something you get at a restaurant, does it not?
Yeah, you're telling me you made those pancakes and stuff you got in the woods.
Well, I stood by the guy who made the pancakes with stuff he got in the woods, but these are really special pancakes. So they're made with acorn flour, and we have wild sunflower seeds inside of these pancakes, and it's topped with Manitoba maple syrup. It's a little more rich and dark than what you might find out east.
Very cool, and pancakes are just one of the things that you've been looking at today.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So we've got to see a whole bunch of different stuff. We got to make our very own bush tea, which was surprisingly good, very minty and very flavorful. So the purpose of these Fantastic Forest Forages is to find some unique local ingredients that can sort of spice up your food. We're not trying to replace the weekly or every so often trips to the grocery store. We're trying to find some things to supplement our cooking that are going to give some unique flavors to our everyday foods.
Now, it's a great idea, but you do have to be careful because you can't eat just anything in the woods, right?
And that's why it's good to go on this Fantastic Forest Forage, because the guys who are doing this have been doing it for a very long time. To the untrained eye, it just looks like we're walking through the woods, but if you know what you're looking for, I'm actually walking around in a giant salad bowl. Well, kind of. If you know how to find the right ingredients here in the woods of Manitoba, you can be finding some delicious ways to spice up your cooking. So some of the examples include, what do I got in my hand right here?
That's the wild mint, one of my favorites. Grows abundantly around these watery areas like behind us here.
And what are some of the things that we could use it in?
You know, last year we did the mint icing. We just cut that up.
It was delicious.
This year, just now this morning, we had it in the tea. It just added a real beautiful, refreshing aroma to that tea. You could just eat it straight up as a little breath freshener. It's
very
nature's
very,
gum.
Wait, what are you trying to say?
Go.
Ben, is it better now? Perfect. Okay, and also today we got to have some pancakes that had, this is wild sunflower?
These wild sunflowers, not something we usually find in the forest, but here at Fort White for sure. Those seeds we worked into the pancakes, and we got some sort of chocolatey aromas, like a sort of bitter chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll find some of those for sure, and we'll whip up a batch of that bush tea for anybody who wants to come out on Sunday.
Perfect. And so Sunday is the last Fantastic Forest Forage of the year. So right now we're gathering a couple of things that could be used on Sunday. So paint the scene. People come down here, they sign up. Then what's going to happen?
Well, basically we'll just take you through the basics of foraging: why we forage, how we forage. Best practices, and then we'll actually get out here on the trails, and Barrett will lead us through and discover some of the amazing things that are just growing all around us, and that we'll start to realize are all around us everywhere in Winnipeg. We'll sample what we find. We'll make a tea at the end there. It'll be about a couple hours on the beautiful grounds of Fort White here. 15 kilometers of trails to explore, and when you're here, you get access to all the opportunities at Fort White. The farms, the gift shop, the fresh produce they're making, pasture-raised chicken that's available now. Just amazing produce and amazing work that they're doing here.
And I believe that you mentioned the produce, and they have a farm that's on site too. They
right.
have chickens on this farm, which people can pick up, but they also have some like fresh honey that can go really well with the foraged items. Correct?
That's absolutely right. We used it in our tea this morning, and we'll use it on Sunday as well. It's delicious.
So a really great thing, and this is sort of like open to all ages. It's all fun because you're just walking through nature, and I think what's really cool is we learn the skills, immediately get to use them, and then create something with these newly learned skills.
Exactly, it's something you can use for the rest of your life, you know. And like I said, once you've identified them and been through it with the experts, Barrett and myself, you'll see them everywhere. And it's just amazing how much we have right on our doorsteps.
And it's not about trying to replace going to the grocery store. It's about trying to find those like little unique things, because it's very impressive. We can say to your guests, "Hey, I made this tea for you, or this dessert, and it was made with this mint that we found in the bushes right behind my house."
Well, that's something I love. I'm a cheapskate, and I just love that this stuff is free, and we can just go and harvest it.
Who doesn't love a good deal? Such a really valuable thing to know, and like just a really fun Sunday afternoon. So if you want more information, get in touch with Ben through our website, breakfasttelevision.ca, because you can get to his food blog, savorwinnipeg.com, correct?
That's right, yeah.
We've got all the details on our website, so you can plan the last forest forage of the year. We got more BT coming up after a quick break here on City TV.